Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your host Vikka Draziv. Guys, welcome to the show. If you're watching us from YouTube, do comment, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't, and share the show. And if you are watching us from Fern or Heliopsychosis group, do comment and tag your friends and help us grow the community. And if you're watching us from RTS Real Truth Seekers dot net or .com, welcome. We have a huge community there too. And RTS is also one of our main sponsors for Heliopsychosis and Truth, Truth Sequency Films and Truth in Plain Sight. So welcome there, everyone too. And today's show, what an awesome show we have today. We have a full house of panel. It's one of the main reason for heliopsychosis is not only about debunking globe and researching flat earth, but it's also to get like-minded people together and to give them a voice, to give them a platform where they could even come and share the experiences and what they feel and what happens. So it's for everybody to know that heliopsychosis is also for that, and we have a chat group for this podcast. So anybody who wants to join us through, you have to get to this chat and you can be invited here. So we have a couple of guests here on the panel that are member of this chat, and they were looking forward to come to this show, and finally they are here. So make sure to join the chat, join the conversation, and come and speak your truth out. So welcome guys to the show, and let's jump in with our host, my first host. If you are here for first time, if you don't know, our first host is a helicopter pilot and an engineer and an awesome truther, and also my good friend from Flatten the Curve, the star of Flatten the Curve, Rob Taylor. Rob, how are you, brother?
Vika, doing well. Thank you in balmy Salt Lake City area, Utah. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, all the previous is somewhat accurate, but the truth is most accurate. The truth is again on the earth, and it shall not disappear. And we are prophets of truth. All of us here on this group on the forum talking today, and anyone listening as well. The truth is available. We can find truth, and we're talking about some of it today. Thanks for all your efforts, always, Vika, in bringing people together. You are a truth guru. Thank you. Flatten the curve. That was a fabulous endeavor for all of us, and I can't wait to do our next 14 edition, right? Our next 14 editions because I'm sure all of us could think of enough material to pack 14 more editions. But you know what? I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about today's subject because this is a huge untouched topic. We don't talk much about the ancient trees, but I can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say. So thanks, Vika.
Oh, thank you, Rob. It's always a pleasure to have you. And on our short clips, you are the next one. So keep an eye, everyone. The next clip we'll be releasing about the flatten the curve is Rob's testimony. An awesome one too. Welcome, brother. And our next guest, as you all know him too, he's also an admin and supporter of all our work, and also he's a part of our production team now. And our co-host Jeannie. Jeannie, how are you, Jeannie?
Hey Vika, I'm doing great. Thank you for my invite and introduction. I'm always excited to be here with you guys, and got some new friends on the panel. Welcome everybody tonight, and thanks to everybody in the chat who's spending their time with us. And I'll be in the chat soon too. I'm figuring out my computer. I have a couple people asking me, so I will be out there. And thanks everybody. It's great to be here. And this is a really exciting topic. Very exciting. Touches a lot of areas that we're walking on.
Oh yeah, welcome, Jeannie. It's always a pleasure to have you too. And
Thank
our
you.
next guest, you all know him too. He's also is part of the Flat Earth community and admins of few groups, and also from our chat groups. Keith, how are you, Keith?
Hey, Vika, thank you for the invite again. It's good to be with you guys. I'm doing real well. I'm in Daytona Beach, Florida area. It's getting hot here. But again, I'm excited like you guys are to talk about this tonight and to listen to what others have. Because the giant trees that are so obvious and so easy to see, especially once you realize that we live on a flat, level, topographical plane. Once you see that truth, you start to see other truths. And this one with the giant trees is one that is just so obvious. So it's going to be a good show.
Oh yeah, definitely. Welcome, brother. It's always a pleasure to have you too. And our next guest, also a star of Flatten the Curve, and author of the book Flat Truth. And one of the reason he's also today on the panel because he has literally was researching this topic, especially about the giants, and for definitely he would have so much to share some light on that. So, Mark Hollander, how are you, Mark?
Hey, Vic. Thank you for that eloquent introduction, and great being here, guys. It's always a pleasure to be part of a conversation involving yourself. You are the master guru when it comes to. I always call you the Steven Spielberg of flat Earth, buddy. You know, you're the man with the plan, and it was an honor to be part of this production and hence going forward. But yeah, the Giants, you know, the 200 fallen angels, you know, from the big revolt in heaven. That's what I wrote about, and they descended, you know, over Mount Hermon, you know, which is the Lebanese border with Syria. And you can actually see it from the Golan Heights, you know, in Israel. But it's a subject dear to my heart because I actually found flat Earth through the Giants. It wasn't the other way around, you know. So I used to be a NASA fanboy, you know, writing a book about UFOs, and I ditched it, you know, when I found out the truth. I broke my neck in a car accident, and it kind of just I couldn't do anything for 9 months. So I decided to write something down, and I destroyed my UFO evidence. You know, the fallen angels, the aliens actually fallen.
Stop.
You know. But anyway, but it's a pleasure being here. Hello, Keith, Cameron Smith, Gene Edited. How you doing, buddy? And Matthew, I see we got some new ones. And Evelyn Goat, I know her from the groups, and of course my buddy from Utah, Rob Taylor. Rob, it's always a great pleasure to talk to you always. And in fact, we were talking earlier today a couple times. And anyway, guys, I'm excited. So thank you for having me.
Awesome, brother. It's always great to have you too, Mark.
Yeah.
And our next guest, who last week he wanted to be on the show and we tried to bring him, but at least we managed him to get him this time. We know him through our Flat Earth community. He's also a part of our messenger chat from the podcast, and maybe he would tell him about himself so the people can know. Matthew Hakim, welcome. How are you, Matthew?
Hello. Thank you for inviting me, letting me talk with you guys. And yeah, I was just really interested by the talks you guys are having. Like, you guys are covering a lot of really good topics. And there was something you guys were talking about. I think it was, the Antarctic Treaty. How that was something that existed before, right? Like, you guys, you had a map that you put up, and it showed the ice wall, and it was labeled like one for Italia, one for Germania, right? Do you remember that specific map?
Yeah, definitely.
That the ice wall had been partitioned, and I don't know if you guys brought it up,
Claims for
but
state.
it reminded me of how the time zones are set up. Like if you look at the flat Earth map, like the Gleason map, it shows how each hour is set up, right? And I was thinking that had reminded me of something in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, chapter 4, I think, where it talked about there were 24 elders that sit before the throne. And I just wanted to say that because that was something that I was thinking about when I was looking at that map, that maybe it's something that actually God had set up, that the humans, we have our, human kingdoms, and there's 24 elders from the human race that sit enthroned before God. And I just thought it was very interesting what you guys were talking about, and I wanted to share that. So, before we talk about today's topics, I wanted to, bring up something that you guys were previously, but that's it. And just anyway, thank you for letting me come on and talk with you guys today. I appreciate it.
Good to have you.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Also, yes, it's definitely a pleasure, brother, to have you too. It's always good to have more opinions and more input because we took that research to some point, and now you came up what you resonate with, and you added to this. So this is what it's all about, because it opens ways for us to understand better. We know it's one of the most difficult part to understand everything what exists and what is happening, but getting more minds together and adding it up and getting the big picture, that's what it's all about. So welcome, brother. And our next guest is also our moderator from our group, and also in our chats, and also a supporter of all our content, and also a good friend now. Evelyn, welcome. How are you, Evelyn?
Hello, good evening. I just want you to know this is my very first time in a podcast, so I'm a bit nervous, but it'll go away. I've well, I've been looking into this flat Earth for the last 2 years, and I started looking into Enoch and the giants and all this and the Nephilim, and since maybe a half year ago. So I'm very much a beginner in this subject. So I've got all my books with me with a little colored paper notes and all that stuff. But well, I just love this subject.
Oh yeah, it's a really interesting subject. So which part are you from Holland?
Yes, I live in Holland. I was born in Gibraltar, and
Wow.
I've been
That's
living here since 23 years now in Holland. So quite a ways, but well, that's what you do for love.
Oh yeah, Gibraltar is not even, it's 100 miles from here. So I'm very yeah, it's a beautiful part of Spain. Yes. So
Yes,
welcome, Ellen. It's a pleasure to have you too.
yes, it's nice to be here. A pleasure and an honor to be. Yeah, this is my first, my debut. So I'm happy here.
Awesome, awesome.
Welcome.
So before we jump in the topic of today, just gonna say it again that if you really want to be a part of this community of this podcast, do consider to join our chat. All right. So, yep. I'm going to give a quick shout out to the people in the chat, and we're going to jump in. All right. Dr. Frankenstein. We have got Effie Nation. We got Tommy Rogers. We got Stephanie Campbell. We got Lev Kung Fu Shaolin. Hey, brother. Then we've got Angel of Elevation. We got RTS Updates. We got somebody from Facebook, and then we got Globebusters. Hey Bob, how are you? And then we've got House Y. Yep, and yep. Let's jump into the topic. I think every one of us have watched that documentary, No Forest on Flat Earth. I was really impressed. I was really impressed with that Russian guy's investigation, and it just actually blew my mind, and it made so much sense. So, well, who wants to jump in first with about the documentary rainforest
know
on
I
flat
saw
Earth.
that a long time ago. I don't remember much of it. It was one of the first things I saw probably, I don't know, 6 years ago when I was watching Sylvie from New Earth. I ran into that, and then I ran into Roger at Mud Fossils. So I wish I could comment on that.
Oh yeah, it was
But
quite a long documentary. Yep.
yeah, but I remember it was blowing my mind. I was just like, "Oh my God, what is going on around here?" Because it made a lot of sense, and it was a nice beginning to what's going on around here now. It opened a lot of doors for me to see things a different way. It was one of the first things I really ran into that was just like, besides the government being horrible and all of that kind of stuff, which is different. This is way more underground and more enlightening than some other things. One of my first. Yeah, I'll go back and watch it. Sure.
Oh yeah,
Really
if the
interesting.
red sequoia, yeah, if the red sequoias and all the in the 1800s, the trees they were cutting down, they were so gigantic. So it's totally possible that these really giant trees existed in the past, because it's because there are many scriptures which
Well,
speaks about seeing the tree from the center tree from different ends of the earth, so how is it going to be possible to see giant trees from the ends of the earth? These trees have to be massive to be seen
yeah,
by the ends of the earth, because even Enoch mentions about these trees. And also I think in all different scriptures it speaks about these kind of trees, that this exists.
yeah,
Yes,
and
I've been trying to look for that one in the book that I have from Enoch, and I couldn't find it. But I have heard exactly that there were giant trees, and the angels they were ordered to cut down the trees so that the giants wouldn't use them as to save themselves from the flood. So
And I'm gonna interject here. You don't even have to go to the Book of Enoch to
no,
discover as far as the giant trees, and as far as the Nephilim, the giants known as the Rephaim, the Anakim, the Zazim, the Seraphim, and of course the Nephilim. And one of the scary thought that you can just correspond with as far as the Book of Enoch, and this is actually the Book of Numbers, chapter 13, 32, 33. And what it says, and they can't even debunk this with substitution of words, what they've omitted, over 3,000 scriptural words, including firmament, by the way, Matthew. But Numbers 12, 32, 33 says the land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. In other words, they were cannibals. And all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. And there we saw the giants, not the New York Giants football team, the giants, giant human beings. The sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers. And so we were in their sight. So we were like grasshoppers, the size of grasshoppers next to some of these giants. So you don't have to go to Enoch. You can go to scripture. And
indeed, I actually read that one.
Yes, Numbers 13, 32, 33.
Where did I see it?
And it's true, Mark. And also other thing could be like that if the giants existed in the past, so the trees wouldn't be small. Everything have to be huge, giant too. Because these giants, if they had something that they need to survive, so the trees, the plants, the vegetation has to be huge. We can't have what in the comparison of what we have today.
Yes, exactly. And the thing about it, these giants have one thing in common. Okay, they Rh negative blood. We're hues in the the main characteristic is you only got 14.8% of the world's population in the whole world, and it's non-negotiable. Not even in thought. The ruling elite actually marry into this group. These are children of the fallen ones. Buckingham Palace. They have to marry their blood type. It's the Illuminati bloodlines, And if it's not
That's
compatible with Rh negative, because look, 85.2% of the rest of us are Rh positive. So they got to marry into their own, which is Rh negative, and they got a different genetic gene than we have. And they were actually the 200 fallen ones that ascended on Mount Hermon to corrupt mankind. In fact, that's in the book of Genesis. Corrupt all the animals of the earth, the tree, everything. So when they were casted out of the third heavenly realm, they sought revenge. In fact, that's why the Tower of Babel was constructed, to reach the firmament, so they can bring the war to God.
they
So
wanted to go up there.
They are never going to. It's never going to end. And we just got to grab a hold of our spiritual aspect of our reality and persevere through it. Because as long as we do that, we're all going to be. Everybody on this panel will be okay.
Right. Mark, I remember, according to your book, like before you were into UFOs, and then you were into giants, and then you realized the flat Earth. In your research about the giants, what were the things that said yes, this is true, that these kind of giants existed? What physical or what information you got that this existence of this giant is true according to your research? Anything in specific or anything in general?
Thank you for your question, because it's an actually. I was hoping that you would ask a question as such. Number one, I was a big UFO buff, and I was with my wife and two of my three daughters. My oldest daughter was getting married, so she didn't come with us. But we were in Alaska, so I was in Juneau, Alaska, 45 degrees. You got a 20-hour sun. It didn't get dark until like 1 a.m. So which was fascinating in itself. So I've never seen a 24-hour, but in the summer months, Alaska is lit up 20 hours. Where we were at anyway, in Southeast Alaska, 20 hours, you only get 4 hours of nighttime. And of course, in the wintertime, it's the exact opposite. You get 19 to 20 hours, depending on the time of the season. But anyway, what I did, I was talking to people on the cruise, 1 o'clock in the morning. Other guy was talking about the Smithsonian Institute, about the lies that they propagating on mankind. We always refer to NASA as being with their fake CGI cartoons, computer generated images. Well, you can say the same thing about archaeology or the paleontologists, because 75% of them actually work for the governments, the country where they are from, who they're working with. Of course, they're all Freemasons. And, I had to uncover 7 things, Vikka, to really convince me, because I was a NASA fanboy. I was fighting myself for 6 months, trying to prove the globe, trying to say, but when I found out that the Smithsonian Institute were covering the fact that we had giants of the renown, biblical giants, because it would prove the Bible to be correct, it actually freaked me out. This is what I started researching. There's 7 aspects of my research. I found out that, number one, they were suppressing the Native American mythology, because the Native Americans were here before Freemason Christopher Columbus came to America's shores. So we were never taught here before then. That's suppressing Native American mythology. Number 2, overwhelming genetic data. Number 3, the scientific reporting was skewed. In other words, if you were digging for biblical giants or presenting your evidence, the Smithsonian would come in and suppress it, buy it out, and then you never see the bones again, the skeletons. The 4th reason was hundreds of the early excavation records. Absolutely, in the 1800s, it wasn't just the trees. It was about the giants as well, And the 5th one, firsthand accounts, newspaper accounts, discoveries you feature. I mean, the biggest skeleton ever
Lots
found
of them.
in the United States was a 19-foot giant full skeleton, 100%, 6 fingers and 6 toes, digits. These are giants that roam the earth. In fact, they used to eat the Native Americans in the United States, and it was quite terrifying for me going towards the flat Earth. But I found the truth about the giants and what Indiana Jones, Rob Taylor's mentioned it before. Indiana Jones, that's what it's about: suppressing the bones of the Nephilim, and bringing your Darwin theory out. You know, Charles Darwin, the Freemason cover boy.
Freemason. Yep.
Freemason cover boy. And that, I mean,
So was his father and grandfather.
And then, of course, they tried to say the giant, but, you know, they plaster Paris trying to create dinosaur age from the Fred Flintstone age. You know what I mean? And the seventh reason was I started researching every local town's historical records where giants were found. And believe me, just in the United States alone, you got over 35,000 accounts of people digging partial skeletons or complete skeletons of gigantic human beings. And so that's when and shortly afterwards, obviously, I look at the people like DeBay and stuff. And of course, I became the enemy of my own family at that point, because it's like, man, did he lose his mind? That was back in the day, and not so much anymore. You know, but when you first find truth, and Evelyn and I highly recommend this to you, is to just look for that open door, because it's not always going to be there. You know, don't alienate your family and friends, and because it's a natural curse. It's the most beautiful thing in the world is truth, but it's also a curse. Truth is very, very hard to handle. So you got handle with care, in other words.
Oh,
And
oh yeah.
if
So,
you don't mind,
go ahead,
Vikka,
Rob.
this is Rob. You don't mind if I
Yeah, go ahead.
step in here? Okay,
Yep, yep.
I'm going to dovetail right along with Mark and talk about the ancient giants on the North American continent. There are giant skeletons and remains in every state of the United States, all over Canada, all over Mexico. And the mound builders, they existed all over North America. So, yeah, and yes, we can take the Indiana Jones, the Smithsonian Institute plan. What they did is they put their yellow police line around all, and I say again, all of the places they could find. And so they pushed everybody out. And what I'm talking about, Vikka, you and I have talked about this. They found evidence of all kinds of Asian warfare, and guess what? And Israelite warfare here on the American continent. They took all of it, and they put it in a warehouse in the Smithsonian Institute. It's all there. I have done years of research on this, So I'm just reinforcing what Mark said. He's done his research. I've been studying this my whole life. So what I'm getting at is there's a book for everybody. There's a book written by a guy who was just like Mark. He's a tall guy. Everybody calls him a giant. So he decided to write a 3-page article on giants. Well, after about 10 minutes, he realized there's enough for 3 books on this subject. So he wrote a book, and here's the title: The Ancient Giants Who Once Ruled America. And I'll say that again: The Ancient Giants Who Once Ruled America. That's an entire book,
Yes.
300 pages plus, about exactly what Mark's talking about. And I'm talking about in Provo, Utah, 1896, they found a 14-foot tall skeleton in Provo, Utah, when they were building the Transcontinental Railway. A 14-foot tall skeleton in 1896 here in Provo, Utah. These giants are everywhere, and what I'm saying is they are the ancient remnants of the house of Israel. This is the tribe of Joseph. Ephraim and Manasseh are on North America. That's where the giants come from. There's also a race of black giants that arrived here maybe 2500 BC. They were here long before the Israelites got here. So literally, they were from the race of Ham after the flood of Noah. So there's 2 types of giants on North America, not just one, but 2 huge groups of giants, and they both covered all of North America. So that's a huge concept right there.
I'm going to elaborate what you found in Utah. because the Mormon religion was actually persecuted for this. I'm going to read this. This is actually an excerpt from
Yes.
my book, Flat Truth. After the Civil War, the Smithsonian began to adopt a policy of excluding any evidence of direct foreign influence in the United States of any history prior to the fake history of Christopher Columbus discovering America in 1492. It was part of an expanded policy, the agenda of manifest destiny, the atheistic Darwin theory, and the missing links that will always be missing because we all live in the times of uncovering the deceptions and lies from all the world's governments. Check this out, Rob. The Mormons during that time were very close to their heads being decapitated of this fantastic deception because they were convinced that the giants and all the pearls and full armored attire with gold and the technical cultural knowledge that you will find throughout all of ancient Mesopotamia were the lost tribes of Israel. And it was found throughout North America and suppressed completely today. So really, the guy that's even worse than Charles Darwin was the most powerful king of the deceivers from archaeology is none other than Major John Wesley Powell. You know, and he was born in 1870.
Absolutely. The great Mason who ruined everything.
From 1872 to Vikka to up to 1902. Say that's the king master Satan right there, buddy, as far as gorilla bones and
absolutely
came from apes and all this bullshit.
And Mark, let me throw this in. It's not the lost 10 tribes. No, it's Ephraim and Manasseh. Only Joseph that's referenced in Ezekiel 37:16. It talks about the branch going under or over the wall. Well, that's Ephraim and Manasseh right here in North America. That's why they're so adamant at erasing it. Now, if you go to the Cherokee will tell you they consider themselves Israelite, or they'll say Jewish, which means Israelite. They will tell you that our language is Jewish, our culture, our customs, even our buildings we are Israelite, meaning they came across the sea to this continent. The Cherokee will tell you that to this day. And by the way, I do have 100% Cherokee ancestor from my mother's side of the family, by the way. So I can find myself in that group.
And guys, a lot of people don't realize with Genesis chapter 6 of verse 4, another fact that was actually hidden from us, it might be even found in the book of Enoch, was for hundreds of years and fathered children with Japheth's wife after he was murdered. So in other words, Japheth was Noah's son, was murdered by the Nephilim. So Noah from Noah's Ark. So, a lot of people don't even realize that, but it is actually in some of the forbidden books, Japheth.
Adding to that, Mark, during the Noah's time and even these time, like Noah and all these people, they live for a much more longer time than us. So it's also have to do that now the humanity, maybe if it's lucky, we live 100 years, if we are lucky. But right. The more behind we go, the more the age was much more longer. And some of the prophets and some of the who were before, or even the humans, they lived much more longer. And that could be one of the reasons that they were much more bigger, because the proof of giants existing, we don't even need to go in the past. We can see present, there are people who are born that they are huge. They are huge. So if this genetic, they're still with us, and they still exist, and they're still everywhere, but they're not in that much quantity, but they're still there. So it's a possibility. The same way we have the dwarfs, we have the giants, and if they exist today, so there is much more possibility that they could have existed before. And for example, according to the Vedic scriptures, it says that if we are living here 100 years old because we have our height, what height we are. And if you go to the next realm, you live 1,000 years and you are maybe 5 times more tall, more big. And then the next realm, so it's different. It's possible that it could exist too, Pandora, maybe it's not a movie, maybe it's a documentary about what could exist beyond this land, where things are still in huge they are huge and they still exist, and they could be human, they could be mutations, they could be the trees, they could be the mountain, that in gigantic proportion. We don't have to be that these things have already have died and it's finished and it's extinct. This could still exist on this plane but beyond our
I
reach, you
agree.
know.
Vika,
Yeah,
I
Absolutely.
exactly.
agree with you because in 2002, the giant of Kandahar in Afghanistan, the United States Special
Exactly.
Forces killed a 12-foot giant in the caves of Afghanistan. And the government has
Big red-headed guy.
covered it up, obviously. But the new recruits in the army in Afghanistan, everybody knew about it. And it would go from one year to the next platoon, to the next regiment, to the new recruits. Everybody knew about it. They talked about it for years and years. They still talking about it today. And of course, they'll suppress that story as well. But this particular giant impaled a U.S. soldier. He was so strong. They had to kill him only by headshots. They couldn't kill him shooting him in the body. I mean, they unleashed a fury of weapons. Now the kill weapon is not to the chest or the body. U.S. military tactics have now reenacted the new kill forces to the head because of what occurred in Afghanistan. That was the year 2002, I believe. Yes, it was. So that gives
Oh
you
yeah,
some
and
ability, but they're still with us today.
oh yeah, and I think in one of our podcasts I was mentioning about this Gog and Magog species, that they're not extinct.
Mhm.
They are there, but they are not in our reach. You know, according to some research, it says that they're in the center near the North Pole, and this whole race exists, and they are just there's a wall that just don't let them come this side. If that wall is broken, they're supposed to come this side, and there are seven for every human being. There is supposed to be seven of these species of Gog and Magog, and this could be they could be huge than us, you know. So
Right.
there are some research, there are some, you could call it mythology or speculation, but there are information in every aspect in scriptures, in different kind of scriptures, which reflect some light where you have to decode things, you know. So there are possibilities that these species and these giants still
Well,
exist and
and also
in some way control.
from a
Yep, go ahead.
biblical aspect, you got to remember that for 70 generations, that these giants are going to be locked up and they're in a static state. So a lot of people believe not only the North Pole, but in Antarctica, that these are trapped beasts and not near the pits of hell, and they are going to be unleashed after the seventh seal has been uncovered. And supposedly we only got one seal left. Before that's so everything seems to point to the number seven. Actually, so, but the seven, the trumpets, the seventh trumpet, the in the seven seals, which
Seventh heaven. Did anybody ever see the movie Jack the
Wait,
Giant
you're talking
Slayer?
about when?
I'm sorry, Matthew,
Go
I
ahead.
can't hear you.
Oh no, I didn't. But I was asking, like, what you're talking about is when, like, Satan is released in the Bible, like after 1,000 years.
That's
Is that what you were
correct.
talking about?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, Steve. Yeah, I'm listening to you guys' conversations, and it's almost like there's like 16 conversations going on. It's all over the place. It's really cool, right? And it's unraveling a lot of paths, right? Just listening to the last half hour, there's a lot of like links being made, right? Just like how you're mentioning Satan being trapped, that goes into something about the idea that there's a 1,000 missing years in our current timeline. Like it's also foretold in scripture that the times will be changed, right? And you guys have probably seen that where they'll have a date, right, carved in stone, and the one, we think it's a one, but it's really an I, right? You guys have seen that, the missing 1,000 years?
I have a.
That's an attempt to separate us from God, right? Like it fits in with flat Earth in the sense that they want to remove us from God as far as space goes. Like, in instead of God being above us, God's somewhere else. So they want to separate us from God with space and time. They want to separate us from God in time, because if we think more than 1,000 years already passed, then the Bible can be dismissed. However, what I was looking at and realizing about that 1,000 years is that, I don't know if you guys have heard of the 2030 agenda.
Sure.
But basically like this, right? So Jesus is born in the year 0 AD, right? He's crucified, he's risen and ascends to heaven, 33 AD, right? So when Christ is risen, Satan is defeated, death is defeated, it's victory. No, the victory was on the cross, right? So if Satan is bound for 1,000 years from the year 33 AD, that means he'll be released in the year 1033 AD, if scripture's correct as we're reading it. Now, if we think the year is 2022, we have to minus 1,000 years. So putting us at 1022, meaning Satan could be released like in 11 years.
That
So
makes
when
sense.
you mentioned
Yeah,
that,
I've heard that
who was
before.
that?
I don't know a whole
Gene?
lot about it.
That was you, right? When they're released, so that may happen. And they were trapped in the earth. And that leads into the idea of the giants and the trees. Because
Yes,
I was
sir.
thinking,
I agree,
like,
Matthew.
wouldn't the
That's one of
trees
the
grow
reasons why
back,
you
right?
can't-
Like,
I said, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's one of the reasons why you can't go past the 80-degree south latitude in the southern hemisphere going towards Antarctica. I believe that's the biggest mystery of our reality, is anything past 80 degrees south longitude in the southern hemisphere. They will not let you
60.
traverse there. I do believe there's giants that trap there. I believe the existence of God is real in Antarctica. And I think Vikka is correct too. I think the North Magnetic Pole, there's a tremendous truth gathering adventure going towards the center of the earth, because it's going to actually probably prove the existence of God. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they don't want they want you to continue being in a stupor, being indoctrinated into their world, their worldly gods, and these people themselves think they are gods themselves. You know, the people that we're talking about, that Illuminati bloodline, and power, control, and money, and it's just they have tremendous gratification keeping creating and causing and continuing on with their human suffering.
And Mark, I want to second that right there. They have concocted their own story that mimics the story of the Elohim, and they've even created their own word from the word Elohim. Now, let's play an anagram drill. Imagine the word Elohim, and then write the word alien right underneath it. It's the same word. The word Elohim, the word alien is an anagram of Elohim. If you with me here, and
Yes,
how do they describe the alien from out of this world, from somewhere else? Guess what? They describe alien as if they're describing the Elohim, but without the dome, without the rakia. The space that they reference is the space beyond the rakia. They just don't tell anybody about the dome overhead. Alien, therefore, is their corrupted reference of the Elohim. Exactly what you're saying there, Mark. They've created themselves as the alien, as if they're the creator gods, but they have hijacked the Elohim story using the fake word alien. There you go.
Right, and you remember that book that that the German scientists that created the V2 rocket, Werner von Braun, in the book that he was referencing from 1952. A book was written about Mars, and the guy Elon, his name was going to be Elon. This is in 1952, guys.
Yeah, the projects was Elon, not the guy's name, though. It was the project.
Yes,
That's where they throw you off, because it's not the guy's name. No, it was the project.
Right.
So
Exactly.
like,
Remember what?
No, it's not about Elon Musk. It's not his name. So it's if you want to think that, go right ahead. I don't.
And here's another one. I'll tell you what Elon means. Remember the numerology gematria. It's all about play on words. Elo, ELO, that's the singular form of Elohim. Elo is singular. Elohim is plural. So Elo is a reference to the Most High Creator. And if you put the N, the letter N, the N starts with November.
Right.
If you put the N on there, it's negation of Elo. So Elon is the denial of the supreme Elohim.
Well, you know,
That's what
Bob,
Elon is.
they use everything they do. They use Holy Scripture against itself. You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
they suggest that Jesus.
It's a counterfeit.
They suggest Jesus Christ was born December 25th. That's the birthday of Nimrod. Birthday of all their satanic demigods.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus was probably born somewhere
Winter solstice, sun worship.
first week of September.
And the stars were in the wrong place.
Exactly right.
The North
Yeah,
Star couldn't follow
the alien agenda. These people have very well controlled the alien agenda, and we know what's the main reason is to deny the creator. But they even like this, they know that the generations, they want to be so, like, I don't know, not spiritually, but be connected, with another planets and another aliens. It's just so much like of a fake.
It's a ripoff.
Yeah, it's so fake, and they just push so much to their movies. But they also show the giants. They also show the giant trees. They also make movies like Avatar. They also make movies where they show Mars, but they're showing these people or these beasts or these humanoids are so huge. So they try to mix up everything. I think they, as I mentioned in many of my another podcasts too, that these people are real. Star Wars, Star Trek, the Avatar, all are ripoffs from the ancient scriptures. Okay, they're just putting in the context of space. Okay, that's what they're just doing. What everything is happening on this plane, in this physical space, above and below, in different level. So
it's the same story.
This I've been saying.
There you go.
And this I've been saying from few years. Yep, go ahead.
All right, brilliant. That was brilliant, actually, and I agree with you. Now, again, we always bash fake acts in NASA and all, but every single deception arrives at that same demonic point. You follow me? Every single in archaeology, these archaeologists do not profess to ever look into the existence of any giants, because they are effectively told to cover your eyes with your hands because you see nothing, to cover your ears with your forefinger because you hear nothing, and cover your mouth because you will not say anything. So you got to remember, everything has its purpose. And believe me, the prince of darkness is the ruler of this world. Hey, this is God created this world, but the devil rules this world. And this is the realization that every truth always is going to lead you back to the creator.
Vikka, I got a question for you, Vikka.
Yep.
How far are you from the Montgo elephant?
What?
It's
which
the Montgo elephant. It's north of you, northeast of you. It's on the coast of Dania, I think, near Castle Dania. Right? Familiar?
Nope. I'm in Europe, brother. I'm in Spain.
No, it's in
Where are you?
Spain, right? Isn't Javier?
What is it? What is it? Maybe I don't get the right pronunciation. Maybe that's why I don't understand. What is it? It's a place.
Well,
it's a monument.
No, Montgo elephant is a rock formation in Spain that.
Okay, there are many interesting stuff in Spain. There are also some old cave paintings. One of the oldest cave paintings are in Spain too. There's a lot of really interesting stuff around here in Spain.
Why I bring it up, the reason why I bring up the Montgo elephant is because I thought it was kind of more famous one. It's pops up a lot, and there's a lot of them, like you said. But this one in particular has been examined by a guy called Mike on a channel on YouTube called Stellium 7, and he does
Oh
it.
yeah, I'm familiar.
All right,
Yeah.
so that's the elephant I'm talking about. And so this guy was
Okay, I didn't
climbing
knew it
all
was
over
in
the.
Spain.
That's in
I didn't knew
Spain,
it in
bro.
Spain.
Yeah, and so is
Yeah, but he
Mike.
said,
Mike lives in
all
Spain.
right.
He's a chiropractor, and I don't know how
Okay.
far he is from you, but I don't know. I thought I'd bring it up
Yes.
because he did a great.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, he did a great breakdown of the anatomy of the tunnels and caves systems inside that mountain that replicate an eyeball and an ear, and it's pretty fascinating. He's got a great series.
Yeah.
So if anyone in
Yeah.
the chat or anybody here tonight wants to go check out Stellium 7, he's got a good breakdown of that and a few other things. That guy's really good.
It's a really interesting phenomena, Jeannie. It's because we have the elephant, we have all kind of animals, we have seen all
Yeah.
different rock formations, we have
Mm-hmm.
seen internal part of the bodies, like you see the blood vessels, you see the stomach, you see the reproductive
Hearts,
organs, you see hearts,
organs,
you see
yeah.
livers, and it's really, you could see
Spinal
it's minerals.
columns.
It's like turned into minerals. So that's also one of the things that I wanted to ask here on the panel, because there are, okay, we have okay, the trees have been cut down, and then there are some mountains that really look like giants that are fallen down, so
And
there are two aspects to these mountains, so some they are mined, and some they are like giants. So
And
Disney
Vika,
any
shows
takes?
it too, you guys.
Yeah,
Vika
and
and
Disney
Gene,
some
I
has
also
it
wanna,
in
look
their
like melted
cartoons.
buildings also.
I like to
Go
throw
ahead, go
this
ahead.
out. Either some would say that look, the giants fell down and turned to stone. Okay, but flesh doesn't last more than a few weeks. Okay, flesh will decompose. However, there's always the fact that ancient societies could have reconstructed human forms in the rock. Humans obviously dug the rock and shaped the rock like a human being, like the eye, like the ear. Obviously, human hands built that, but they built it from a human model, obviously.
I don't know about that.
Because some look like pareidolia. You know what is pareidolia? Pareidolia is to seeing
Yeah,
human faces in
right.
nature. Could be in rocks, could
Effigy.
be
Yeah,
in trees.
Yes,
it's
that's
Yeah,
effigy.
because
Exactly.
your
Like
brain,
in
yeah. Go ahead.
clouds.
Go
your
ahead,
brain is
Evelyn.
programmed to recognize faces. From when you're a baby, you recognize the face of your mother, you recognize the face of your family, and your brain is just programmed to look for face outlines, eyes, mouths, and that's why
The symmetry.
that's why we see, or we look for faces where there can't be any, but it's very in your face, that all these mountains and rocks, they really look like animals, and something must have happened to them other than being wiped out from the flood or whatever. Something must have happened to them if they were carbon based, to be turned to stone. So that's
It sounds
the
like
question.
paramineralization is what happens before it goes to what is it, being petrified. There's
Yes.
stages, but paramineralization is when the exchange happens. Like mud has no oxygen, so if you're trapped in the mud, it's an exchange of the mud to your tissues, and then it
Yes,
turns to stone.
and that has to be a
Hey, but the
quick
scientists
process
are telling
because
us that, though. The scientists are telling us that how fossilization happens. So should we even
Right.
trust the
Yeah.
mainstream narrative on fossilization? I
Well,
thought same
Exactly.
thing.
they
Like,
say it
why
takes.
are some
They say
trees
it takes
petrified? Why
hundreds of
are
years.
some
Yeah. How can a tree turn to stone unless it happens quickly? Because it's going to rot way quicker than turning to stone.
right?
Yes.
It has
Yes.
to.
Yeah, something
It
did
has to break down. It's wood.
happen. I personally, I have fossils. I have a fossil of a giant tooth that I have a different tooth that's hollow, right? But it looks like a tusk. I have a different super large tooth, right? It's like the size of a fist, right? And it looks like a human tooth.
Nice.
And the way the markings look, it indicates that it could have had a second row, which is also about what the say of the giants. And then this super huge tooth, it's hard like a rock. It looks like it has the meat in the middle, just like how a tooth would look. But this thing, I'm like, how big would a human be to have a tooth this size? How big would the mouth be? Then I was like thinking of my own teeth, right? Like feeling how big my own teeth are, and then comparing it to the size of the tooth in my hand. And this thing, to me, it was probably a human like more than 10 times bigger than us. Maybe not 100
Where'd you
times,
get it?
right? But pictures of it, I mean, I don't ever gonna take it to like a museum or anything. You know what I mean?
No.
But it's proof.
They'll take it away from you.
You know, and I was looking at so many fossil pictures of different.
Yes.
You know, so I totally believe the giants.
Where did you find it?
They'll take my tooth and run.
Has anybody heard of the liger?
Okay, I live in Fullerton, right? It's in the border of. Yeah, human or the lion-tiger mix, right?
Yes. Yes, that is the it's
liger.
A hybrid between a male lion and a female tiger. And those things grow huge. They don't stop growing, actually. And that's because the female lion and the male tiger are the ones that have the gene, the growth gene, or chromosome. And when you switch that and have the male lion and the female tiger, that they don't have the combination anymore to stop growing. So that is what could have happened to the giants, because they came out of human females, out of from the fallen angels, the sons of God. They could have also have that defect where they do not have that growth stopping switch, so to speak, or for them to stop growing. So they would just they would bear the women would bear normal looking babies in size, but then they would just grow and grow and keep on growing because they do not have that switch
that
off.
genetic switch.
Yeah.
All right, this is an awesome conversation that we are having here on Heliopsychosis today with some awesome guests. We're gonna take a short break and we're gonna be right back, guys. All right.
My name is Joshua Silva. I am a licensed commercial pilot and flight instructor. I have had a lifelong love of aviation and aerospace. And when growing up, I even fancied myself an amateur astronomer.
Number one, pilot. When I fly out of Long Island for a state pocket. Bottom line, you're going to get some type of programming file. You do some type of where.
Been in aviation 21 years. Anything from helicopters, aerostats, big birds, little birds, fighter jets, things with engines, no engines, big blades, little blades, compressor blades. I woke up to the truth of the flat Earth, shape of the Earth, as an engineer and a pilot.
I'm a merchant marine. I've been sailing 15 years. I graduated from the Paul Hall Maritime Center out of Piney Point, Maryland. I primarily sail on container ships, tankers, drill ships, military cargo vessels, you name it, I can sail on it.
Work experience. I joined the Navy when I was 17 years old. I had a secret security clearance. There's different levels of security clearance. There's like a lower level, and there's a secret, which is what I had.
Be providing my in-depth experience of U.S. Navy submarines and how they prove we do not live on a globe Earth. However, due to the nature of my job and the security clearance that I hold, I wish to remain anonymous.
Oh, sorry, guys. There was a really bad echo on that because someone had the mic on. That's why. Sorry for that, guys. So we're gonna jump back into the show. We have got Rob Taylor with us, Jeannie Edited. We've got Keith Cameron Smith, and we got Mark Hollander, Matthew Hakim, and Evelyn Gold. So welcome back, guys, to the show. There are some more people in the chat here too. There is Gary Towner, there is Gal Gotha, there's Tommy Rogers, there is Conspiracy, there's Serena Hamilton. Then we've got, there is quite a few more people here. AMPM Inspiration. So welcome back to the show, guys. So yeah, speaking about the giants and the trees, so the minerals plays a really an important part, you know, in the whole existence, what we see. I think even we ourselves in a kind of are minerals in a way, you know. If you really see everything we consume to its micro level, it's all alkaloids, it's all crystals, you know. The food we eat, the essential oils, if you extract the smallest forms are crystals, you know, the water, minerals. So maybe there is some truth that we are made from this earth. So could be that we are in a way mineral, you know. So any takes?
Yes, what
Yeah,
I read, in one of
didn't
the
God
books.
take the dust of the earth?
Exactly, that's what I'm.
Indeed, the human body is created more or less. It's an active form of mud with life in it. Literally, if we want to make it that simple, the human body is mud and tissues, but with life in it, by the miracle of the Most High Creator. There you go. But it is dust after all.
Mud is a dark color usually, isn't it?
That's true. And then I was considering that.
Except for what about
dust?
white sand?
Like, a lot of dust,
Sand
like in our
doesn't
house,
make
it's our cells.
Yeah, well,
mud, not sand.
The sand,
dust means
it's,
you know, figuratively
so
in
the
Hebrew,
dirt is
the
organic.
Middle Eastern speaking, Eastern speak here. When you say dust of the earth, it means material from the earth. That's what it means, right? It's a reference. And Gene, you say mud is dark colored. Well, not necessarily. If you got white sand, but you got white mud.
Yeah, but sand don't make mud.
If you had the proper, I can tell you, my brother I'll tell you this: my brother has about 30 different colors of sand, purple,
Right.
black, green, whatever. Because he and his wife collect it wherever they go. They got all kinds of sand, my friend, and all kinds of mud, all different colors.
Right. Well, there's a big difference between sand and mud, though, isn't there?
But in the end, it's all minerals. In the end, that's more
In the end,
important
you
because
can make
everywhere,
white mud. You can make white mud if you want. Go to any
every column.
volcanic pit, right? You can make all
Yeah,
colors.
there are white clays, there are green clays,
Clay,
there is
right?
many
Yeah.
different kind of clay and mud, and
Yeah,
it's in the end,
exactly.
it's
That's the
yeah.
point.
So from every shade we could imagine of this in clay form, in mineral form, in crystal form, in silicon form, so in rocks, in different kind of marbles, and it's such a huge, you
You
know
say silica is funny. Things stick out for reasons in your mind. I think like red flags and signposts from the other side come to you, right? And they're trying to talk to us. I'll say that all day, all night. They are trying to communicate with us, and if you're not open to that, you might not receive that communication. But like about 25 years ago, I was watching a show where one of these NASA scientists was saying, if they ever ran into alien life, they say, well, what kind of life are you? And he said, I would say, I'm a carbon-based life. And he would ask the alien, and the alien would have possibly said, well, I'm a silica type life. And that question, that little scenario right there, was like a silica life. What are you talking about? Rocks being, what do you even mean? And now all of a sudden it makes a little more sense why that guy was saying that, because those guys know what they're talking about, so they got to let the little secrets out so we know, even though we don't know the helium. But I think that's what he was talking about. Silica life could be
okay when okay, so when someone is not talking, please mute the mic, okay, so we can hear clearly the rest of the person, and when somebody wants to add,
okay.
can on the mic. Go ahead, Jeannie.
No, it strikes me as curious why these scientists would even mention a silica type life, because he's talking about rocks being alive now.
Yes, sir. You mean the alien scientists, right? The scientists who study the aliens, who study the
Yeah, well,
Elohim anagram. There we go.
right.
They're
Yeah,
corrupted of the actual. There we
But
go.
my take would be, it's very difficult for us to even know that what the creator has created and what exists. We cannot even
yeah.
imagine what form of life could exist. We only think what our mind can define, that's what it can exist. But it's all made up. What a human can define is just all made up. So we don't know how powerful is the creator, only what we can see. Even if this world, we are supposed to believe that it's all mined away, all the trees have been cut, all the minerals have been taken, even though it's a wasteland and it's so beautiful. So imagine how it was this earth when it was in its glory, or how is it this earth when it's beyond, where we parasites human cannot, are not purposely, maybe are let gone there because maybe we destroy that too. So the creation, everything is possible. Any kind of life we could imagine could be possible. Yep, go ahead.
Well,
I
hey,
agree, Vikka, 100%.
Yes.
I'm going to add to that. Go ahead, Evelyn.
Sorry. Otherwise, it would be limiting the power of the creator, and well, that's something that we cannot fathom. What for power, and other creations, or yeah.
I wanted to add something as well. What you guys have been, I've just been listening in. Samuel Clemens. One of the reasons why Mark Twain's one of my favorite authors is because he actually rejected the Freemasons towards the end of his life. And what he did, he moved to Scotland to live out most of his last years. And he knew about the truth killers denying God in our everyday lives because he spoke about it at length. Think about some of the quotes that he suggested. History is strewn thick with evidence that a truth is easy to kill, but a lie, well told, is immortal. He also is the one that said, hey, all you guys are familiar with this quote, it's a lot easier to fool someone than it is to convince them that they have been fooled. So Mark Twain, that's the reason I kind of like Mark Twain, because waking up from the Matrix, I was just looking into all authors, because when you become an author yourself, you kind of get fixated on certain authors about certain subjects. And but Mark Twain denying the Freemasonry towards the end of his life, I think, is pretty telling.
It's like Warner von Braun's epitaph.
His tombstone. That's right.
Yeah. Verse 19:1.
Yep.
A lot of them do that. Hey, you know what I wanted to throw into is that Abe Lincoln has a quote about when he was standing at Niagara Falls. He said, "Wow, the Giants viewed this beautiful waterfall just like I am right now." So Abe Lincoln talked about giants, and he was 6'4" or something like that.
Yeah,
really tall guy back then.
Exactly, because in that area of the world, their remains were all over the place. Mm-hmm. The mounds were there, the ancient cities were there. That was before the Smithsonian Institute removed it all. Okay, so everybody in the Midwest knows it, because they could walk out their back door and they could see the remains. They could see the skeletons. They could see all the artifacts.
Hey, Rob, I could be specific on that end. Most of these mounds are right alongside the Mississippi riverbank.
Exactly.
I went to Cahokia Mounds. Just outside of St. Louis.
St. Louis, yes. I've been there. I walked up on there, by the way.
Yeah, Cahokia Mounds, unbelievable. They unearthed 11.5 foot and also a 13-foot giant that ruled over the land. The river.
Okay, so massive. And that Cahokia is bigger than the pyramid in Egypt, by the way. The whole landmass of it.
I mean, you can see the skyline of the city of St. Louis, and it's about 50 miles away from St. Louis.
Excellent. On a ball.
On a ball, right.
Yeah, exactly.
On an imaginary ball.
On a ball. Hey guys, I have a plaster casting of what I think is a dragon head from the Smithsonian, and that's what I call them, a Smithsonian, because they're a bunch of fakes. But I'll put it in the chat later. It's a really, really cool piece, about 18 inches long, and it reminds me of a baby dragon head, and it's stamped from the Smithsonian. So it's an interesting piece. I collect stuff. I got some cool things.
Well, hey guys, in 1914, a Belgian tanker actually caught a ship owned by the United States government that was that the Smithsonian Institute used. They were actually caught dumping gigantic bones into the ocean. A Belgian tanker. This was about 1914.
Yep, there you go. Here's another couple artifacts that the Smithsonian has. They've got a shard of ancient pottery from North America, North Carolina. They mounted it upside down, but then this guy who went in there, who is ancient Israel, he read it. He says, "You got it upside down. It says for Jehovah." Okay, it says for Jehovah. All right, that's what that one says. That's from North Carolina, and then from Newark, Ohio. Let me say again, Newark, Ohio. There's a massive earthworks there. I mean, massive city, and all the angles, they all reflect back to Egypt. The angles of the building construction and the figures in the ground. There's a Decalogue stone, which means it's got a figure of a human being in the middle of it, and it's got the 10 Commandments written in an arc all around it. They call it the Decalogue stone. Deca meaning 10. Okay, it's the 10 Commandments. There it is, found in the ground by the Smithsonian, indisputable evidence of the House of Israel in North America. There you go.
Very cool. The Ohio has the snake mound also, right?
Yes, there's a lot of effigy mounds up there. Right. Yeah, there's actually a lot of those different types of mounds. Correct.
You know, I'm on a few Facebook pages where these guys are collecting arrowheads from Ohio. Is like such a hot spot for arrowheads and Indian artifacts. It's crazy what these guys find in the fields after it rains. It's crazy. Just tons of stuff.
Yes, absolutely. One guy was walking on the shore of Lake Michigan, found an ancient sword there, an ancient saber.
Nice.
And a lot of those have been found as well. Even the Smithsonian goes out of their way to find any metal and remove it, but there it is. If you go to the state museums, they've got all their clothing as well, really fine clothing that these people wore that they found in their burial sites. Really fine stuff that the Smithsonian will not even recognize it, like it doesn't exist. But the state governments know it's all there.
Well, you know, M.K. Kincaid, if you guys are familiar with that name, he
Sure
actually, the Colorado River underneath the Grand Canyon, they found a Sphinx, you know, Egyptian Sphinx. They found probably today's prices on gold, over $100 million worth of gold at the time. You can imagine how much it's be worth today. And this was back in the 1930s. And and that place has been condoned off. No visitors allowed. It's absolutely. They actually built a man-made concave to you can't go to this part of the Colorado River.
Yep.
You know, they actually built a bridge, and they built a barrier above the water, above the Colorado, so you cannot traverse in this area of the Grand Canyon.
And you know what else, Mark? They denied working with Kincaid for about 80 years, and only recently they were like, "Oh yeah, you know what? We found his records. He did work for us."
Exactly right. You spot on, buddy.
Man. And you know what else? You look around that part of town in the Grand Canyon where you're talking about, there's all Egyptian names too. They named it this, that. I forget the names, but there are a lot of Egyptian names over there where
they found three giants too, Gene.
Oh, really?
Three giant, and they found jewelry. It wasn't just the gold they found. They found these gigantic spears, these javelin type spears that a normal human being wouldn't be able to carry, much less use it as a weaponry. You know, these spears were in the excess of 18 feet in length, and they were solid. So believe me,
what are they made of?
They were made. Actually, they were made of they were heavy metals. They were made of copper, and they were made of something close to titanium, but just pure silver back then. So if you're making something out of pure silver, think of how heavy silver is. And something that's 18 feet long, you know, 15 to 8. So, you know,
where did they get the silver from?
Exactly. Yes.
The silver store?
Yep.
Wow, that's great.
Oh yeah, and our this part of the earth that we're supposed to be look like is mine, and these trees and all these minerals that they're taking. What you guys think, that this was like so back in the past, or this couldn't have been so back in the past, and they are using these resources and these minerals for other lands, you know? So it could be possible, because why would they leave? Why would they take, you know? So okay, as Evelyn said, that in the scripture it said the trees were cut because these people couldn't climb up during the floods, but that could be possible that that's timber, or maybe it was in another form, and it's material, is raw material to build something, to produce something, because as gold there are many mines which are found under the earth and all over. We could see all these wastelands everywhere. So any ideas, any thoughts?
Well, they say that the pink salt comes from the Himalayas and from the caves and that. So I wonder now what the pink salt actually is, which is it's a higher mineral content than just sea salt.
It's not a sea salt. They say it's sea salt, but these mountains are in the Himalayas. They are one of the highest mountains, and these caves are not in the base section. These caves are in the higher part. So it's very difficult, and it doesn't look like it's supposed to have anything similar to the sea salt. It's more like a mountain salt.
Yes, that's what I mean exactly. That it's a different mineral content than sea salt, which you just get out of the sea. And this is a pink salt, which makes you think, it's a bit more fleshy, more mineral, other mineral content, and
Oh, it tastes awesome. Anyway, it tastes
Yeah, I
awesome. I
know.
use
It
it.
is nice.
I got a
But it makes
little.
me think: is that a sort of a cannibalism they got us doing? Then
Yeah,
they pumped it up. Oh, Himalayan sea salt, you got to have it, right?
yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
but there's
Just a thought.
some part of the mountains does look like, as we spoke about first, like look like, like flesh
Yeah.
with
Yes.
fats, with it's just so obvious. There are some things that you cannot really deny, and there are many images we have seen, that shows really like rock formation of really giants sitting, or doing something, or frozen in time. They're not like all lying down like how
You'll see.
like mountains.
You'll see
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
couple of them together. You'll see mother and a baby together in places.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
And
animals, for all
yeah,
kinds.
different sizes.
So
There's a good page on Facebook. I'm friends with Biba from Seeing is Believing. The Rocks Were Alive. It's a good page to go check out. There's phenomenal pictures and all kinds of stuff on that page. Yeah.
yeah, and the rose, how you call it, quartz, rose quartz, and there are some stones that are really like, and rocks like really like blood, like red and brown, and all the shades. And there are sometimes you can't really have answers for everything. You can have some
Hmm.
ideas, but looks like these were really, really human parts, or animal or organic parts that turned crystallize, or petrify, or
You
whatever
know,
you want to call that. Or
there's
yep, go
there's
ahead.
a
Yeah, but like,
book.
what is the process that did that though? How did they become petrified? That's the question. It's like, how can it become like that? And there's a similarity between that and the tree stumps. What is possible that happened is maybe God didn't want the trees continuing to grow. Like, not only cut them down, but it's possible, some trees can keep growing. You know what I mean? Like any
Yeah.
tree that's cut down, it's possible it can sprout up another, another
Branch,
branch.
a new
So
sprout.
something
Yeah.
happened. Yeah, sprout. It could keep growing, but God intentionally did something to not just the trees, but yeah, they're called titans. Like that elephant in Spain. That show that video is called Unveiling a Titan.
Right.
Those things
Yeah.
were all just
7
turned to
parts.
rock, like turned to stone. Like Medusa, Curse of Medusa. They turned to
The
stone.
Gorgons.
But some of it, yeah, some of it looks like they're melting into a stone. Like a lot of those mountains that look like the face of a giant, or yeah, every type of animal. It looks also like they're dead, but they're fusing. Like their composition almost matched what they were near. So I think that theory could be true, that they are titans, super massive animals, like a giant thing that could die and become an island. Like North America could be a giant dead aquatic animal, that was thrown down from the waters above, right? But also, I consider these what's called Tartarian structures that were under the mud. They were melted. And it's the same thing. It looks like whatever structure was above was hit with some type of phasing ray, like a sci-fi energy ray that
Yeah, they got
turned the
X-factored.
structure into whatever was like around it. Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird, but it's like all these theories, it's true. We can't say this happened or this happened. It's just a lot of question marks, like interesting question marks.
The 9/11 towers. The
Tartarian
9/11 towers were
buildings
hit by
under
a.
mud.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the same thing. You see the 9/11 towers. That looks
hit by
like
a
pictures
phasing ray.
from like the Chicago fire, San Francisco fire. Like what? Yeah, they didn't destroy because that matter would still exist. That matter turned to dust. And if you look at how it remains, it looks just like the old pictures of like Chicago fire, San Francisco fire, everything that destroyed these old cities. Those stone buildings look like they were vaporized, you know, and I see the similarities with 9/11. You know, same type of energy weapon.
It's the same ray that heats food in your microwave. It's the same cavity magnetron ray that destroyed the 9/11 building. In other words, take the ray in your microwave, add 100 million volts to it, and point it at anything. It's gonna turn to dust. That's exactly what happens. It's called harmonic resonance is what happens. They literally vibrate.
But do they have like a weapon? Do they have a weapon on like on a balloon? Watch, is it a weapon on a balloon, or did they like figure out how to bounce rays off of the firmament and target with a laser weapon with precision, just like how they bounce radio waves off the firmament? You know, like could they have a weapon?
Of course, it could have been that. More likely, it was projected from somewhere on the ground close to there. There was a huge seismic jump, a huge seismic hit right on that day. If you study Dr. Judy Wood, she talks about all this. There's a huge seismic jump there that did not show the reverb from the earth. There was just a hit from above going from top to bottom, but there was not a response from the earth, which shows that there was something fishy, something unnatural happened on that day. And don't forget, there were 8 weeks of molten metal under those buildings. So something huge happened on that day, and that was that ray that they fired.
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have this? Yeah, they have crowd control, right? It's like the non-lethal rays they fire that they use on crowd control. It literally heats up the water in their skin, and because it's on low voltage. We know what that is, right? The Navy crowd control uses that. So if we take that and add 100,000 volts to it, guess what? That'll vaporize anything. I mean, turn it to dust. There you go.
Rob, is 5G? Does 5G
it'll
technology
melt steel,
have this
right?
available?
It'll melt steel.
Well, you know that was the I forgot the name of that. That was that explosive they used. I'm sorry. They used that to thermite. Thermite's what they use to melt steel.
Yeah.
That's an explosive that melts steel. That is what they use to cut
That's how they got 45-degree angles on those.
Exactly.
Beams. 2 inches
Yes,
thick,
exactly.
those beams.
And those were all the explosions that the firefighters heard. That was a nanothermite going on. Okay.
Right.
But everything else they used literally a cavity magnetron ray to literally turn it to dust. Many studies showed it.
There was
it
2
could be
years worth of renovations going on in those buildings beforehand. The insurance company, Rose, what's his face, doubled his insurance just in case of a terrorist attack. That whole entire.
All right. That's off topic, Genie. So.
All right. Well.
Vikka, we should have an entire seminar on that. We should do a seminar on that one, Vikka.
Oh yeah, that needs a whole 3-hour movie that needs.
Oh yeah.
For that one. Okay. Speaking about what happened. Speaking about what could have happened to these ancient giants and these trees, and it could be a divine intervention, and it could be not so divine intervention, because I think why would a creator destroy such a beautiful creation that he has made? You know, my take would be, why would he destroy? Why would he cut? This looks like cutting these trees down. It's like, you know, when like the same now they are destroying the Amazons or many part of the nature. It's a very human or not so divine action. My take would be, you know, because you're really taking out the beauty of the whole. You are taking out the whole ecosystem. You are taking out, you know, we could imagine how beautiful it would have been or would be to have these giant trees. Okay, maybe not the giants, but at least the giant trees and all this ecosystem, you know. That's my take.
I think about how beautiful this place is and could have been a lot. I think about this world a lot and what they've done to it. It's very upsetting.
I think the giant trees were meant to feed every animal and human on the earth, but when they all got destroyed, it was I say to probably part of the punishment of man having to work the land to produce food. So that's my view.
That's arguable. Yep. Good point.
Hey guys, I want to bring up something
So
about humans and how they destroy things. But in the beginning of the Planet of the Apes, they get lost in space and they crash down on some unknown planet that they didn't know was their own planet, and they're walking around and there's nothing around, and they run into this little 6-inch plant and they run over to it, and what does the main character do? He rips it right out of the ground. Kind of funny in how they portray
exactly
something like that.
Well, back to the radio.
It could have been the only thing alive on that whole entire planet besides them. He didn't know yet, and he killed it. Just interesting.
Yeah. Well, they do that for their own control. They're doing it now. What is the?
I'm sorry, Rob. I lost you.
Rob, we don't. You're getting cut out, Rob. Yeah, it's we humans are known to do that. Yeah, we have this in us. Now we are contaminating everything and we are destroying everything. So it's there in our genetics from a very long time. So it's possible that we ourselves, in those times, maybe when we were giants or our ancestors, and they cut it all because they wanted to make money, they wanted to create things, and so it's absolutely possible too. So all right, so this is one of the topics. Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
Oh, well, I was just thinking, like, it is in the Bible, the book of Daniel, right? I'm not sure exactly which one where it mentions the tree had to be cut down. Before I talked about that, just like Jesus, I'm sure his life was very beautiful on earth, and people would wonder why God would have him killed, but as far as why God has the supreme right to kill anything, we are, his. But yeah, I got off on that tangent, and it is in, I think, the book of Daniel. It talks about the tree that the whole earth can see. And what I was thinking about, the flat earth principles of that, like, how would everybody on the earth be able to see a tree, given the laws of perspective? And I was looking at it the wrong way. The tree, the world tree, is what I think like the North Pole is. That energy, some people call it like the torus field of the earth, and how there's the center and then there's the branches. It's just like a tree. So I was thinking that even though the tree might be dead, it could still have a spirit. So maybe there was a massive tree like at the North Pole, and it too was the main tree that was cut down, and we could still see it to this day, just in compass form, like being the North Pole. Yeah. And I was thinking that, like, what other tree would we all be able to see? Like, if you were in, like, right? If it's like a literal thing that we can see, but it's invisible,
Yes. If you go to Google and you just look at the geography of the land, when you close up into some countries or areas, you can see a sort of it's like a root system. That's the geography of the land is like a root system, like it was alive.
Yeah, under the Devil Tower too, it's something similar, right? You got cut out. We don't hear you.
Yeah, exactly. Devil's Tower, that's one of them. It's got the same striations as all the others.
Exactly. And adding to what Matthew was saying about the tree of the center of the earth, yeah, this tree could really be a physical tree that could exist, and it has something in the or some content that is getting this electromagnetic effect, or it could just be, as you say, a spirit, energy, our what do you say, the donut shape vortex. That's the north part is the top branches of the tree, and the down part, the negative part, is the roots of the tree. It's just maybe just a way of saying it. The tree at the center of the earth to the magnetic center we have, right? Makes total sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, I noticed that the structures that look like a root system, that's mostly on the northern hemisphere. So you can look by, for example, in Scandinavia, Iceland, not Greenland. Greenland is all made white in Google, so they're hiding something there. But you can yeah, and you can see that it's a sort of a root system. And if you can imagine, the size of the tree that actually go with that, then it's easy to imagine that it would have been a humongous tree reaching up to the heavens.
You guys ever heard of mud fossil?
Yeah, go ahead, Genie. No, go ahead, Genie.
I was wondering if anybody ever heard of Mud Fossil University. There's a guy who runs that page named Roger Spur, and he says the geology is biology, and he sent samples of rock dust to Harvard and Yale for DNA samples, and got human DNA samples from rocks, and
wow.
and when he presented it back to them, to those two universities, they said, leave us alone and stop trying to contact us, and they were threatening him with the police. So he's Roger Spur on Mud Fossil University has some really cool stuff about how rocks could have been alive, either in rock form or flesh, and turned to stone somehow. And he's an interesting guy. I used to talk to him, and he's the one. He's got mapped out a dragon that goes from like Morocco, all across northern. You've seen that, right? And it's eating the fish that's down in Nigeria and like Chad, and this thing comes from Sudan up to Egypt, across all the way over to Morocco in Africa. And I said to the guy, I'm like, well, if that's a dragon the size of that, the Earth has to be flat, or at least 100 times under exaggerated. It's got to be way bigger than what we're told. And then now we won't talk to you.
And also it could I'm familiar with some of his stuff, interesting stuff, because there's one guy also on Facebook that he really if he makes the shape of a whale, our whole continents together, the known world,
right,
it's shaped like a whale.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There's a few of them out there that are very interesting.
Other thing, other excuse could have been to cut this tree was, that the people don't climb up and see the end of the world and say the earth is flat. That's why maybe they cut it too. It's totally possible.
And there's another verse in the Bible where it says God comes down and sees everybody, which is also, we wouldn't see people in Australia if he was up here, right?
Yeah, somebody in the chat says Aurora Borealis. Borealis means trees. Excellent.
The arbor. Arbor means tree.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of our live conversation podcast that we are like, we are not sure where we are going with it, but we are having different ideas. But it's also because all our podcasts in the past, we were right on. We knew where we are going. We know what it is. But this one of the topic where we're just trying to take opinions and ideas because we can't really say that, yeah, this could be possible. Okay, this could be possible, but not in that tone of like. So yeah, because it's a subject like that. It's such
It is.
mysterious in every. It's so
But
mysterious. It's so. Go ahead.
keep in mind, everybody, that who has control of all the information and where it's coming from and how convoluted it is and pieces are missing. So we're on great
Oh, yeah.
subjects, right? I'm glad everybody's here having fun. I really
And
am.
the information we have is therefore extremely limited. So we're
It
trying to
is.
triangulate the truth from what they have buried and concealed. If, for example, if we could open up the archives underneath the Vatican and all their murders and oppression throughout the ages, and the Library of Alexandria, that's another one, and the Smithsonian Institute. Man, if we could get in there, we could have a look at real history. Those are the real museums of natural history: the Smithsonian, Vatican, and Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
Right.
You know
And,
what I like to say is in the age of information right now, they're burning information right now to make the libraries of Alexandria look like Disney.
Yeah, good point
it's
there.
true. Stellium 7.
And censoring, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the start of it. You can't say that. Now you never see that word again when you're looking for the right information. But, Mike and Stellium 7 he did a presentation on the elephant over there, and Google went back a year or so later, which was about a year or so ago, and rearranged their pictures of that elephant, which is really interesting. It's like Elon Musk's live on Facebook getting altered after the rocket messed up. They're in charge of all the information. Right. And you're right, Rob. We're trying to find these pieces that go together. And this is a great team. And I'm happy to be here with all you guys. And everyone in the chat, too.
And here's another one, reference Mark Twain. They've already censored him out of modern day school reading. You can't even read Mark Twain anymore. Those are the classics.
It's racist.
I mean, literally, such garbage. I grew up. Those were when I was in high school, as everybody else. Those were mandatory reading for the AP class.
You had to read those grade books. Without it.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the backbone of the U.S. Frontier Society. Those two books right there. Read those, and you've got a dang good picture. You've got almost a clear picture of life in that area on the Mississippi River in those days. We cannot understand that without those books, and of course they've censored it for that reason.
Well, they know they got a lot of covering up to do. A lot of people are just not buying this story much anymore. It falls apart when you really start to look, and it's great to see this happening. This is awesome. This is like the Great Awakening.
Exactly.
Yes, it is.
That the whole world they lived in was just a story that Max Egan. He's another YouTube guy. You guys might know Maxwell Egan from Australia. He says history is a bunch of lies that were told by people who weren't there. Those little things like that help ease the pain of what's going on around here.
Along that line, what did Napoleon say? History is the lie that everyone chooses to accept.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. In third grade, I got to third grade. I could not wait for history. I was so excited to.
But there's always truth, though. I mean, the truth can always be hidden.
Yeah, and it's
like, for example, we're talking about the tree stumps and giants, right? Now watch. So watch. Did you guys ever hear of the legend of Paul Bunyan.
Sure.
Did any of you
He
guys
dragged his axe
in the
across the
United
major
States
Grand
ever
Canyon with
hear
his
about
axe.
the legend of Paul Bunyan? See, he was a giant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he built the United States. He cut down all the trees.
Yeah.
And then
He made the Grand
I'm surprised
Canyon
we
with
haven't
his
brought that
axe.
up yet. But yeah, it's just part of folklore, you know, because the truth is too intense for people. Yeah, and so the people just give a little story like, yeah, he was a giant. He cut the trees down. And then in the end of the story, he went to the North Pole. That's how that story ends. He went through
His
North
ox blew.
Alaska,
Yeah.
right? But he was
Yeah,
a giant that cut the trees down. And it's like, yeah, Dave, right? The blue ox. So even though the mainstream lies, the truth, it's like they can't stop it, no matter what. It's always staring us in the face. And then the simple things like folklore,
They paste the words like mythology and fantasy so that the people laugh at it. But sometimes they're really telling the truth there, because I think the human brains cannot make up things and call it sci-fi. The human brain copies. The human brain cannot invent something like this. So it takes from reality. The reality is stranger than fiction. And many people say, "Oh, everything is fiction. Everything is made of fantasy." The human brain is not have the capacity to make up that fiction. It's always taken from somewhere.
I'm going to expound on what Gene had suggested about the Great Awakening. Absolutely, which fits in with Scripture. Luke 12:2. Everything that is hidden will be found out, and every secret will be known. There's nothing covered that shall not be revealed. Matthew 10:26. Everything that's been concealed will be revealed. So absolutely, we're in the Great Awakening. So it does match up with Scripture, and the Great Awakening was part of that lockdown too, by the way, guys. And
absolutely,
they're gonna try this second round of this pandemic coming up this winter. And Joe Bubbling Pajama Joe Biden already suggested that about 4 days ago.
I know.
There will be another pandemic, and we need money for it right now. These people are printing money like it's water. It's just endless, and they're gonna suffice this and continue to procreate, taking all of our rights and our liberties. And you will own nothing and be happy. You will own nothing and you will be happy.
All right, guys. So anyway, we'll be having a last thoughts on about today's conversation, and we'll be wrapping up. So, any last thoughts about today's conversation? Anyone who wants to go first?
I'll go. I've been listening for 2 hours. It's been a good talk, good conversation. I guess all of you guys have seen the Back to the Future movie and a couple of the truth drops in there. Part one, Marty's going into Doc's workshop. You see the flat Earth clock sitting on his desk with the flat Earth map inside the clock. And then in part 3, maybe you guys have seen this, but it's about the trees. Doc is talking to Marty and says, no, you can't go into the and maybe run into a tree that used to exist at some point in the past. And then the camera shows the huge tree stumps out in Arizona. Maybe it was Cathedral Rock or something like that. But you guys have mentioned the movies a couple times. They do truth drops in those movies. My point of closing is that these huge buildings, whether it was Tartaria or not, but these huge structures that are all over the earth, I don't see any way possible that little 5 and 6 foot human beings built these structures. I don't know how old those buildings are, but even Rob, I think Rob's gone now, but where Rob lives in Salt Lake City, there's the Mormon temple there. That temple goes down a couple levels below ground. This was before Caterpillar, before any land moving equipment.
They didn't even have dynamite.
Yeah, exactly. They had
black powder. That's not dynamite, though.
Yeah, so the buildings like that all over the surface of our flat Earth had to have been built by people much, much larger than us. So that's my 2 closing points. It's just something from the movies and something about the buildings that are just absolutely massive. We don't build anything like them today.
It's true.
Oh yeah, it's totally possible because there are also monuments all over this side of the world too that looks like they were just made out of one piece, so and it's impossible how these structures are, apart from the known monuments and structures, there are some structures that are lost in the nature. Unbelievable sizes of statues and carvings in caves. It's unbelievable. So totally. So thanks, Keith, for joining us today. That was awesome
It was a
to have
great
you
talk.
two here.
Yeah, I learned a lot actually. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Keith.
Awesome, bro. Who's going next?
I can go if you wish. Thank you for having me, Vikka. This conversation tonight resonates with my soul, and it should resonate with all souls because before the space deception, they had to lie about who you were, where you came from, what are you planting your feet. So more importantly, we always talk about NASA. I see all of these shows about space, faking space and all, but more importantly is who you are and where you came from. That, God made all of us in his own image. He didn't make us in monkey image. So we're not related to Magilla Gorilla. You know what I mean? And so they had to lie about who you were before they lied about space. And that's just a fact. Thank you for
Awesome,
having
brother.
me.
It was great to have you, Mark. Just today, I shared a meme in Heliopsychosis group that they say toothless eel was our ancestor from a Scientific American Journal. Okay, just so check it out. Thanks for being here, Mark. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. God bless you guys. Mark,
Matthew,
Evelyn, Matthew,
same,
Gene, and Keith.
same.
Mark.
Great to see you
All
guys.
right,
You too, Mark.
all right. Evelyn or Matthew, who wants to go?
Yes. Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be between these giants from your podcast. And you never stop learning, so keep your mind open for new information. Whether you agree with it or not, that's your choice. But don't just put away things as untruths, or just listen to what other people's views, and then make your own mind up. Okay.
Awesome, really well said, Evelyn. Thanks for being here. And it's true, we all are so many different from so many different backgrounds, so many different experiences, so many experience of life and everything, that we are gonna have different opinion. And even in flat earthers, we all could have different opinion about any different topic on flat earth. Could be anything. We could have, and we all have to accept and listen to everybody and not really be like that's the real reality. That's why, because we all learn from each other and we have to respect everybody's opinion. We don't have to agree or disagree, but we should listen. It's our, because they all are our truther brothers and sisters who wants to say something. So it's awesome. Thanks for being here, Evelyn. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Matthew, brother.
Yeah. Final thought. Yeah. What I'll share for the final thought, right, is a vision that I was having recently. Like I was looking at the moon, looking at the sun, looking at, we call stars, the luminaries. And I was thinking, yeah, they're angelic beings. Like the lights, they're spirits. And like the sun, he could be like Jesus, right? I mean, honestly, we don't know everything, but the lights they're from heaven, right? And the lights come down through the firmament. So we see light, right? And I was thinking about what it says in the Bible that Jesus, like he's saying that we are the light of the earth. So like when God looks at us, when the angels look at us from heaven, it's like they're not looking at our bodies, because our bodies can't get through the firmament, but our light can, like our spiritual light energy. So when they look at us, they're looking at like a cool light show, and they can see what our light is, like what our spirit is. And I just wanted to share that. You know, we are the light of this earth. You know, that's it.
Oh yeah,
That's
Matthew.
awesome.
Yeah, I like that
We are
explanation. Very, yeah.
exactly. We are lights, and that's what we see. That's what is the giver of life, because without light, it's nothing happening. And as you say, as maybe our bodies could be for time, but our real presence, that we are part of the great spirit or the great creator, is the light. That's never is infinite. It's never gonna be destroyed, because it's like that. So anyways, thanks for being here, Matthew. It was a pleasure. Definitely we're gonna have you too
Yeah, thank
on
you.
future shows.
I'd like
Awesome,
it.
bro.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Vikka. All right, this 2 hours went so fast. What a great show. Had a lot of fun. Matthew and Evelyn, it was great to have you guys and meet you both. And I'd love to see you back again. I learned a lot from all you guys. Keith, great to see you. Mark, always great to see you. You're a riot. And my brother Rob, I'll see you soon. Vikka, thank you for holding the hours that you do. I swear, I don't think you sleep. And I know it's late over there and you're busy 24/7. And thanks for putting these great shows together. It was one of my favorites. I say that a lot because they really are. We're building a great family here. Everyone in the chat, thanks for being here. And I hope you guys had fun. I'll be on the chat with you soon, having fun over there too. And have a great week, everybody. It was great to be here with you all. Thank you. And thanks, Vikka.
Thanks, Jeannie. We all make this possible together, brother.
Don't
So
dig a hole.
unity makes it possible.
It's
Thanks for being here,
awesome.
bro. Hey, Rob, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yep. Thanks. I'll shed my 2 bits on this. These are large topics we talked about today. I've done a lot of research myself, as Mark has, and as have others. And I'll tell you, I am astounded. I am astounded at the real archaeological and cultural history that exists right under our nose. Right under our nose. Okay. And the scripture, it proves the scripture. And I will tell you this, the secular archaeology, and I mean the simple archaeology of the North America and South America. For example, the Mayans, the Aztecs, and the Incas, they came from southern Asia, which is India. The North Asians immigrated to North America. That's another topic that Vikka and I have talked about at length. Vikka, we should have that as another topic. Another webcast topic
definitely.
that we talk about on Sunday. That's a massive topic. So, and it doesn't take very much. All we got to do, and I'll throw this in there. As a university student, I was that kind of guy who would go and find 2 or 3 books for the writing submissions that I was doing for my classes. I would come out with 14 books on 8 different topics just because I was fascinated with all the different topics just from the books that I was picking up. I couldn't believe how much information is in there. And that's what this research forum is. This is phenomenal. Love the forum. It's a seminar. And you know what? I thrive on this. I thrive on hearing what everybody else says. What does somebody else know? Because their experience is 10 times more than I could. Everybody here knows far more than I could. I can't know everything. So I depend on everybody else to learn about it. And so long story short, what I'm getting at is the real history of the earth. And I mean the archaeological, the cultural history, it's under our nose. All we have to do is read it and pierce through the lens of deceit from the Luciferians, which is not hard to do now that we're aware of it. All we have to do is look for it. It's there. It's right under our nose. So thanks everybody for bringing up our topics today. Thanks for joining. And that's all for me. Thanks, Vikka.
Thanks, Rob. It's always great to have you too. And yes, guys, if you think you have things to say, do join our chat group and come on the panel. This is what heliopsychosis is all about, to get people together and share knowledge between us, ideas, and get to the core of the truth. So thank you everybody for being there in the chat. And we're gonna watch this video later from all different platforms. And thank you, Keith. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Matthew, Ellen, and Rob, and Mark. See you guys soon. Until next time for the next show of Heliopsychosis podcast. Bye, guys.
Night,
Bye
everybody.
bye. Good night to everyone in Europe.
Bye.
All the best. Keep researching. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Good night.
Astronauts to the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.